He might have billions of dollars to his name, but Warren Buffett prefers to live life simply, unlike other celebrities and financial gurus. The Oracle of Omaha won't be found living in a mansion in the Hollywood Hills, collecting a fleet of fancy sports cars, or dining daily on foie gras and caviar. The investing icon practices what he preaches regarding financial discipline, saving, and paying off debt. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Finance Guardian channel. Now in this video we'll look at Warren Buffett's take on how frugal an investor should be. Subscribe to our channel, click the bell beside it, and let's get started. There has always been intense interest in Warren Buffett's house in Omaha, and for a good reason. Buffett has earned a reputation as the world's greatest stock investor, and his long-term track record demonstrates that this is indeed the case. The Forbes' real-time billionaire net worth calculator estimates his net worth as of May 11, 2022 to be $113.2 billion. But Buffett, who is now 91, is also a legendary frugal man. He still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500 in his hometown of Omaha, Nebraska. However, the fact remains that Buffett also bought a beach house in California in 1971 for $150,000. He then sold it for $7.5 million in 2018, down from an original listing of $11 million. Other than that, his tastes are simple and include McDonald's hamburgers and cherry Coke. He has firmly established that he is not interested in computers and luxurious cars. Buffett's success is rooted in one simple fact. He is a value investor, and that trait is at the core of his professional success and personal life. The home Buffett bought for his family in 1958 for $31,500 is a handsome stone and stucco house on a tree-lined street in the Dundee neighborhood of Omaha. There are 5 bedrooms and 2.5 baths in this 6,570 square foot home. Zillow estimates the home's current value at $1.24 million, and Buffett calls it quote-unquote the third best investment I ever made. As a comparison, Jeff Bezos, one of Buffett's rivals for richest man on earth, recently spent $165 million on a sprawling estate in Beverly Hills, California, in addition to the $10 million estate he owns next door. Mukesh Ambani, India's richest man, built a 27-story skyscraper mansion as his primary residence. Buffett could afford it, or for that matter, Buckingham Palace, which is said to be the world's most expensive house with an estimated value of $6.7 billion. Apparently, Buffett doesn't see the point in having 78 bathrooms. In an interview with CNBC, Buffett reveals his definition of personal success and luxury, giving us some insight into his philosophy. Success is really doing what you love and doing it well, Buffett said. It's as simple as that. Really getting to do what you love to do every day, that's really the ultimate luxury. Your standard of living is not equal to your cost of living. And the thing Buffett loves doing every day is working at Berkshire Hathaway, the multinational conglomerate he built from the ashes of an ailing cotton fabric manufacturer. Buffett does not accumulate the toys and other trappings of wealth. The maintenance and expenses involved with these things are a burden to him. This view extends to computers and cell phones as well. The primary advice he gave when asked by CNBC about the one thing young people should do to be smarter with money was to, quote-unquote, stay away from credit cards. When you pay interest on credit cards, you are probably living beyond your means, wasting money on interest. Both of those things are incompatible with Buffett's philosophy. Buffett is always on the lookout for bargains as a value investor. Even his second wedding was simple. The man, who could pick any venue in the world, married his second wife, Astrid Menks, in a brief civil ceremony at his daughter's house in Omaha in 2006. It was a 15-minute ceremony. Despite his success, Warren Buffett still loves his job. Nothing makes him happier than running Berkshire Hathaway, so he doesn't spend much money on hobbies, relaxation, travel, or other escapes from his day job. Like many born entrepreneurs, Buffett did not want to work for anyone else. His ambition was to start his own company instead of complaining about the one he was working for. That could be the key to future wealth for like-minded people. Buffett has a clearly defined strategy for making money. He says, quote, the first rule of investing is don't lose money. The second rule is don't forget rule number 1. It's a strategy he employs both professionally and personally, and it starts with living far below his means. He doesn't want to keep up with the Jonases, even if they do have a private island and a jet to get there. Despite his billion-dollar net worth, Buffett has made a base salary of just $100,000 a year for more than 25 years at Berkshire Hathaway. His total compensation for 2021 was $373,204. Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, now owns numerous well-known American brand names such as Benjamin Moore, Dairy Queen, Duracell, Fruit of the Loom, and Geico Insurance. The company also owns significant stakes in Apple, Bank of America, Coca-Cola, American Express, and Kraft Heinz. Warren Buffett is a value investor. To put it in another way, he's a bargain hunter. He looks for stocks that appear to have unrealized earnings potential beyond what is reflected in their current stock prices. The legendary investor is no way a stock speculator. For example, he has owned Coca-Cola shares since the 1980s. Because of compound interest and its wonders, it's a good idea to at least try to be frugal. Most investors understand this, which is why talking about your high savings rate is almost a bragging right inside our circles. Warren Buffett said, "I always believed in spending 2 or 3 cents out of every dollar I earn and saving the rest." But how frugal should an investor be? What is a reasonable savings rate? 10% of your income? 30%? More? It is a matter of personal choice, but let me help you analyze your situation with a few Warren Buffett rules of thumb. Any money you save before you get out and start having a family is probably, or any dollar is probably worth $10 later on simply because you can save it. The time to save is young. The first rule of thumb, which was just hinted at, is that the younger you are, the more financial incentive to be thrifty. The fact that Warren Buffett started early is one of the main reasons he is the wealthiest investor. He bought his first stock when he was 11 years old, and he was already able to save and make a lot of money in his teens. Yesterday was probably the best day to start, but today is the second best day, so do not be discouraged. Secondly, it is a matter of how much you value an activity. Who's to say whether it's better to defer $1 of expenditure on your family trip on a trip to Disneyland, or something that they'll get enormous enjoyment out of so that when you're 75, you can have, a 30-foot boat instead of a 20-foot boat. In 1952, Buffett spent 6% of his net worth on a wedding ring, which he calls the best investment of his lifetime. And you know that this man has made a lot of great investments. He would never suggest that you should be defensive or frugal when making purchases that will yield much greater rewards for you in the future. It is similar to what he did when he spent 1% of his then net worth at the time on a Dale Carnegie speaking course in 1952, which would be about $291 million today if he'd invested the money. Warren Buffett once suffered from stage fright, although it might be difficult to imagine today. Seeing that it would set him back a great deal in his quest for riches, he decided to pay up to help him grow as a person. I would bet that the $100 he spent on the course is also at the top of the list of his greatest investments. Finally, how frugal you are supposed to be depends on the market's current state. And if you find that everything is extremely cheap, like in '74, you should probably put every available dime into equities, and that's what we've tried to do. Let's use the current stock market situation as an example. The 3-year earnings yield of the S&P 500, or how much the companies in that index earned during the last 3 years compared to how much they currently cost, is 2.9%. That is lower than at any other time in history. For example, the time for penny pinching among investors was greater in 2008 and 2009. Why? We would have gotten more than twice as much income from foregoing consumption back then as we do today. Given the current state of the stock market, it is actually more justified, less unjustified, than ever to buy an expensive vehicle such as a Lamborghini right now. Remember that this is not financial advice though, and you should not forget about rules number 1 and 2. And that is all the time that we have today, folks. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button. If you're new around here, subscribe to our channel to remain updated about all of our future videos. We'll see you next time.